For the mindset portion of this module, we're going to look at two of the other ingredients that we need when it comes to self-healing. Now, these are self-compassion and self-forgiveness. And cultivating self-compassion tends to lead towards greater happiness, better life satisfaction and higher motivation. It leads us to have better relationships and good physical health and less anxiety and depression. Practicing self-compassion has helped me to steer clear of anger and self-pity. It's allowed me to remain patient and loving towards myself. Now, I'm not saying that I haven't had times when I've lost it. I've had many. But I can rebound from those missteps much more quickly with the help of self-compassion and refocus on supporting myself and my family. When we're mindful of our struggles and respond to ourselves with compassion, kindness and support in times of difficulty, things really start to change for us. We can learn to embrace ourselves and our lives despite inner and outer imperfections and provide ourselves with the strength we need to thrive. Self-compassion involves treating yourself the way that you would treat a friend who's having a hard time. Even if your friend blew it, or is feeling inadequate, or is just facing a tough life challenge. It involves three core elements, and these are self-kindness, a common humanity, so a recognition that everybody makes mistakes and feels pain, and mindfulness. So imagine that your best friend calls you just after she's been dumped by her new partner, and the conversation goes a little bit like, "Hi, how are you?" And she says that she feels terrible. She tells you that the guy that she's been dating has just told her that she's been coming on a little bit strong and that he just wants to be friends with her. And so you respond and you sigh and you say, "Well, to be perfectly honest, it's probably because you're old, you're ugly and you're boring. Not to mention needy and dependent, and you're at least a stone overweight, your clothes don't fit, and your hair's turning grey. I mean, I'd just give up now because there's really no hope of finding anyone who will ever love you. I mean, frankly, you don't even deserve to be loved." Would you ever talk this way to someone you cared about? Of course you wouldn't. But strangely, this is precisely the type of thing that we say to ourselves in such situations, or even worse. With self-compassion, we learn to speak to ourselves like a good friend. We say, "I'm sorry. Are you okay? You must be so upset. Remember, I'm here for you and I deeply appreciate you." We ask, "Is there anything that we can do to help?" When we mindfully observe our pain, we can acknowledge our suffering without exaggerating it. It allows us to take a wise and more objective perspective on ourselves and our lives. Now, many people fear that self-compassion is really just a form of self-pity, or they see it as selfish to prioritise your needs. But in fact, self-compassion is the antidote to this. Self-pity says, "Poor me," while self-compassion recognises that life's hard for everyone. And research shows that self-compassionate people are more likely to engage in perspective taking rather than focusing on their own distress. They're also less likely to ruminate on how bad things are, which is one of the reasons self-compassionate people have better mental health. Now, given that mindfulness is a core component of self-compassion, it's worth asking how mindfulness and self-compassion relate to one another. Well, mindfulness focuses primarily on the acceptance of the experience itself, whereas self-compassion focuses more on caring for the experiencer. Mindfulness will ask, "What am I experiencing right now?" whereas self-compassion will say, "What do I need right now?" Like I mentioned in the earlier module, this is kindfulness. It's mindfulness with a measure of self-compassion thrown in, as both of these allow us to live with less resistance towards ourselves and our lives. If we can fully accept that things are painful and then be kind to ourselves because they're painful, we can be with that pain with greater ease. When we criticise ourselves, we're tapping into the body's threat defence system. Remember that first module? So feeling threatened puts stress on the mind and body, and chronic stress can cause anxiety and depression. And that's why habitual self-criticism is so bad for the emotional and physical well-being. With self-criticism, we are both the attacker and the attacked. Now with compassion, this is linked to our inner care system, and that's why being compassionate to ourselves when we feel inadequate makes us feel safe and cared for, a bit like a child being held in a warm embrace. When we practice self-compassion, we are deactivating that threat system and we're activating the care system, and oxytocin and endorphins are released, and these help to reduce stress and increase those feelings of safety and security. So let's just bust a few myths or some limiting beliefs around self-compassion. So the first one is that self-compassion will make us weak and vulnerable, but the truth is that being self-compassionate is a reliable source of inner strength and enhances our resilience. Research shows us that self-compassionate people are better able to cope with tough situations like divorce or trauma. Another limiting belief is that self-compassion is really the same as being self-indulgent, but it's actually just the opposite. Compassion inclines us towards long-term health and well-being, not short-term pleasure. Self-compassionate people engage in healthier behaviours like exercising, eating well, drinking less, and going to the doctors more regularly. They take long-term care of themselves. And the next limiting belief is that self-criticism motivates you. And the truth is, it just doesn't. Self-criticism tends to undermine self-confidence and leads to a fear of failure, where if we're self-compassionate, we will still be motivated to reach our goals, not because we're inadequate as we are, but because we care about ourselves and we want to reach our full potential. Self-compassionate people have high personal standards. They just don't beat themselves up when they fail. Now, something that we might experience is a resistance to how we're feeling. And let's face it, pain in life is inevitable, but it's when we resist this pain that it usually makes it more intense. It's this add-on pain that can be equated with the suffering. We suffer not only because it's painful in the moment, but because we bang our head against the wall of reality, getting frustrated because we think things should be other than they are. And another common form of resistance is denial. We hope that if we don't think about a problem, it will go away. But the truth is, when we try to suppress our unwanted thoughts or feelings, they just get stronger. Moreover, when we avoid or suppress painful thoughts and emotions, we can't see them clearly and respond with compassion. Mindfulness and self-compassion are resources that give us the safety needed to meet difficult experiences with less resistance. Just imagine how you would feel if you were overwhelmed and a friend walked into the room, gave you a hug, sat down beside you, listened to your distress, and then helped you work out a plan of action. Thankfully, that mindful and compassionate friend can be you. It begins by opening up to what is without resistance. In a moment of struggle, we don't practice to be free of our pain, we practice compassion, because sometimes it's hard to be a human being. It's like a parent comforting a child who has a 48-hour stomach bug. The parent doesn't care for the child in an attempt to drive the bug away, because that will go away in its own time. We care for the child because they feel bad. We comfort them as a natural response to their suffering, while the process of healing is allowed to occur in the background. And it should be like this when we try to comfort ourselves too. When we fully accept the reality that we're imperfect human beings and we're prone to make mistakes and struggle, then our hearts naturally begin to soften. We'll still feel pain, but we'll also feel the love holding that pain, and that makes it more bearable. Mindfulness and self-compassion form a state of warm-hearted, connected presence that strengthens us during our most difficult times in life. And the final ingredient we need to make this mindset shift is probably the most difficult. But as Newton's law teaches us, every action has an equal but opposite reaction. So if you can unlock this one, you will feel huge benefits and enjoy quantum leaps in your recovery and transformation. And enjoy quantum leaps in your recovery and transformation after breaking free of an abusive situation. This is self-forgiveness. And self-forgiveness is about learning how to forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made or the choices that you've made that have had a great cost to your emotional well-being. Often we wonder how it's possible we messed up so much. How did it come to this? Now, things may not always add up. Our actions don't always reflect us, and the actions of other people don't always reflect them either, or sometimes they do. This is not about forgiving your abuser. You don't have to do that ever. What they have done to you is unforgivable, and I wouldn't encourage anyone to waste their energy on trying to forgive them. I know that some people do report forgiving their abuser, and I'm more inclined to think it's having a deeper understanding of how, why, and what created the abusive situation, rather than truly forgiving a person who's wronged you on so many levels. But that's not what this is about. This is about self-forgiveness. So why is self-forgiveness so important? Well, like compassion, awareness, love and care, self-forgiveness reduces stress, which in turn increases immunity, eases mental health issues such as depression and anxiety, and increases your physical health due to a reduction in anger and an increase in heart health. If we don't find the key to forgiveness for ourselves, we continue to worry and punish ourselves into a mess. There are seasons of our life where we can certainly use painful lessons for good and to learn from, but when it comes to how we treat ourselves until then, we hurt. We simply hurt ourselves. It doesn't have to be in any big way, it can be in the way that we don't let go of a mistake. And self-forgiveness can have many benefits, while self-loathing is not productive at all. And in order to start the process of self-forgiveness, the first question to ask yourself is, why did I do wrong? Making a mistake or failing to maintain boundaries has nothing to do with who you are or who you have the potential to become. It's not a reflection of your self-worth. We're all human, we all make mistakes, we all do things for different reasons. The key is finding your reason. When you discover your why, you'll unlock your truth and you will know how you got to this point and make the important decision to decide for yourself whether to go down that path again. Finding meaning out of the mess means that you're done pretending to yourself and to others that everything is perfect. It means that you'll stand up for yourself and for others for what you believe in. It means that you can start to heal. And then you can aim for that end goal, which is being able to let go. And letting go really means to forgive yourself for what you didn't know and what you thought you had to do at the time. It means to forgive yourself for your shortcomings and your mistakes. But that doesn't mean excusing yourself from accountability. Identifying a mistake and deciding not to repeat it and owning the damage you caused is part of the journey. Don't keep beating yourself up over it though. It's a hard balance to find at times, but it's worth it to be able to reap the health benefits and move on with your life. You are worth it. Sometimes self-forgiveness is about finding joy in your life instead of finding the sorrow. And once you let go, you learn to live. Maybe you don't have to forgive yourself for doing something wrong. Maybe you have to forgive yourself for doing something right. Maybe it's because you knew it would come with a cost, but you were willing to pay to do the right thing. How do we get here? How do we get to self-forgiveness? Well, by acting in a way that incorporates self-compassion. As we've just discussed, showing yourself that compassion inevitably leads to forgiveness. The shame you feel is part of your healing. It brings awareness to what needs to be done better in the future, or it helps you to accept the outcomes when you make hard decisions. But you don't have to live in shame or fear in order to make powerful changes. And in fact, you can't make powerful changes whilst living in that place. An important step in practicing self-forgiveness is to leave that guilt behind. Rather than helping us to make a situation right or improve ourselves, guilt breaks our spirit. For a moment, it may help to feel guilt because that enables self-reflection, but ultimately, you're human and you need compassion. Guilt is an okay place to visit. It helps us identify changes we need to make, but it's not a good place to stay. Guilt might make you feel like you're not enough or worthy of forgiveness or love, and it prevents you from moving on from your life and becoming the best person you can be. So when you choose love, you need to choose love for yourself too. You need to consider yourself worthy even when you're broken. In fact, especially when you're broken, because everyone is worthy of love and you are too. Don't let guilt smother your goodness. Don't let guilt eat your energy and enthusiasm for life. And don't let guilt destroy your joy. Let go and use your scars as reasons and reminders to do more good. Even if you can't make everything right now, let them be the lessons you hold on to as you move forward. You can self-forgive and you can help others at the same time. It's about choices, and you can make better choices when you've had time to reflect on your own situation. Shine a light on those in need and walk with someone who feels like they're alone too. Listen to another human being's troubles and you'll find yourself helping them to do what you are trying to do, self-forgive. You'll find that in helping someone else through an uncomfortable or a bad situation, you'll find your way through yours too. It's a funny fact that we often give to others the way we should give to ourselves. We give them the mercy, the love, the attention, the comfort and the compassion. So we know what to do and we know how to do it. We just have to apply the same kind of kindness and mercy we apply to others to ourselves. To get back your own life, give back to others. It's almost as though we find the path to ourselves by showing it to other people, and you'll find it makes everything easier. To bring yourself some peace, share your vulnerabilities with others. Share the flaws and insights from your story that actually make your story significant. You don't have to shout it from the rooftops. Instead, have a few people in your life that know what is going on and how you feel. Opening up takes courage and strength, and while it may not fix everything, it is a start. Others can also point out to us the flaws in our thinking. Maybe that self-blame was necessary, but maybe it wasn't. But either way, we cannot continue to live productively there. It is possible to resolve your behaviour and forgive yourself all at the same time. This means that you can change your actions, your state of being and your handling of others and more whilst practicing self-forgiveness. This is huge. It means you can be accountable and still move forward. And in moving forward, you'll find that others may not always move with you. They might not be ready to. But as you continue to make amends, you can choose a better way to be. And you can even, dare I say it, choose joy. Moving onward requires strength, as does all things, but it's worth it not to wallow in your pain. You can move on with joy by looking within and realising that you are still worth it. And at the end of this, you'll still have moments of darkness and doubt, but the more you let yourself love yourself, you'll find yourself in moments of joy. You'll catch yourself laughing. You'll catch yourself allowing the light to touch those wounds, and that light is love. You'll find peace in surrendering. You'll find peace in surrendering, and you will find that love even in the loss. You find yourself in self-forgiveness when you realise that you are human, and that in itself makes you whole, makes you more than your deeds or your actions. It makes you enough.